Hey, it's Tuesday night and it's time for Campus Life Online, where God is glorified and your life matters. Let's rock.
Man, I don't know what about you, but that intro just makes me a little bit nostalgic for last spring. Not really. Oh man, last spring was rough. But here we are again, guys. We are doing Campus Life Online tonight because some of our staff were subjected to some COVID exposure during the latter part of last week. And you guys, we want you to know that your safety is actually our number one priority. And so just to make sure we're all safe, we're going online this week. But we plan and have full faith that we will be back in person at the tent again next week, next Tuesday. And also, as I'm going to talk about in just a minute, the ski trip for this weekend is still on. We have plenty of staff that can take care of that who did not have any kind of COVID exposure. So anyways, got a good show for you tonight. Not super long, but some pretty good stuff. And I want to start it off with some announcements. And really the only announcement that I have for you tonight is about the ski trip this weekend, okay? So we hope that a lot of you will go. There is a sign up that came around through the text. That is the best way and the only way to sign up. And so please, if you plan on going, go in there and sign up. And if you did sign up and you are now not planning on going, if you could let us know somehow, you could respond to the remind text or something to let us know to take you off the list, that would be helpful. But the details are very important, and there is a very important change to the details, which I'm going to go over right now. So if you're planning on going on the ski trip, listen up, Buttercup. All right, I'm going to read it straight from the sign up, okay? It says, meet at the compound. We are not meeting at the compound. We are meeting at the church parking lot, the same church that has the tent, Calvary Bible Church. We're meeting in that parking lot that's right next to the road, not up around back by the tent, but actually right down there by the road. There's a big old huge parking lot. We are going to meet right there at 7 a.m. I know that's really early for a Saturday, but Donner Ski Ranch stops selling tickets as soon as their parking lot is full. It's going to be a beautiful weekend for skiing, so a bunch of people are going to be up there. So we want to make sure we get there in plenty of time to get tickets. So please do not be late to Calvary Bible at 7 o'clock a.m. And be ready to roll. We are planning on leaving that parking lot at 7:15, and if you are late, you will get left behind, all right? So Calvary Bible Church parking lot, 7 a.m. this Saturday, back around 5 or 5:30, not back to the compound, back to the church parking lot at 5 or 5:30. That's this Saturday, February 27th. About the cost. If you are 13 to 17 years old, your cost for lift ticket is $69. If you are 18 or over, it's $79. If you need to rent skis or snowboard, the whole setup is $35 to rent. Add that on to the cost of the lift ticket. If you need a helmet, it's $10. If you just need poles, those are $10. And also we're asking that all of you bring $5 cash to chip in for gas for the vehicles to get you up there and back, all right? We will provide transportation. We will have masks on in the car the whole way up and back, so just be prepared to have your mask. I know no one loves that, but we're going to be in kind of confined spaces, so we want to be as safe as we can. What to bring? Bring your proper clothes for a day on the slopes. Eyewear, definitely bring sunglasses. It's going to be bright sunshine on Saturday. Sunglasses or goggles. And any kind of a lunch that you want, they will serve food up there. If you want to bring money for lunch, ski resort food is notoriously expensive, probably like $15 for like a cheeseburger combo. So I'd recommend packing your own lunch. We will have a person that's a staff member that's not going to be skiing, hanging around and kind of watching stuff, so you can leave your stuff up on the deck. The lodge is not going to be open, we understand, but they have a giant deck area where you can hang out and eat lunch and stuff like that, all right? Let's see, what else do I need to say? Just make sure you sign up, and if you have not been to Campus Life, or if you are bringing a friend who has not been to Campus Life, we need to make sure that there is a permission slip out there for them. And that actually brings me to another announcement, that we're kind of relaunching our Instagram page. We kind of just left our Instagram page alone for a long time for various reasons, but it's time to bring it back. And we're going to put a link up on the Instagram page that has the permission slip link, so you can actually click on that and hopefully download that and print that if you need to. And we're going to be using Instagram, campuslife.nc. again for advertising different stuff and pushing content to you guys. It's going to be really killer. One of our awesome staff members, Callahan, is sort of taking charge on that and is going to be pushing out inspiring quotes, Bible verses, little talks, staff bios, information about trips, and anything else that you want to know on campuslife.nc on Instagram. All right, and I think that is all that we have for announcements. Once again, we should be back in person next week. Thanks for joining in online, though. That's really cool that you guys did that. All right, so really we have just a couple more components of the show tonight. We're going to push a little worship your way. We actually pre-recorded some worship stuff, knowing we were gonna need it for our online content. So we're going to do just a little bit of worship, singing to get our hearts in the right place before we give you a little bit of message from the Word today. So take it away, Isaac.
Hey, what's up, Campus Life? Here's, we're going to do some worship, starting out with an oldie but a goodie. You make me move, Jesus. Every breath I take in you. Woo, woo, woo. Every breath I take in you. You're on my way, Jesus. Every breath I take in you. Days of mercy, days of grace. Everywhere I look, I see your face. Your love has captured me.
Okay, well, a big shout out, thank you to Isaac Ross for recording those songs for us and leading us in worship. Isaac's a pretty talented guy, as I know you guys can tell from watching that if you haven't seen him before. And if you like what you hear, his voice and his style, he has some music actually out on Spotify that he just put in there. He's actually a really accomplished artist and songwriter. So check out Isaac Ross's music on Spotify. All right, so we do have a little lesson from the Word for you guys tonight. And it's about our theme for the month. If you guys remember last week, we kind of kicked off a new theme. It was February, the month of love. And so we want to spend several weeks just talking about that because it is the greatest subject in the universe, really. There's so many aspects to love. And our greatest commandment from our Father in heaven is to love. And so it's worth taking a shoot. You'll spend a lifetime learning how to love God and love others. But what we want to do just really simply tonight is talk about even just that word love and what it means. Because love in our culture has a lot of different meanings. It's probably one of the worst things we have in our language is we have one word for this great concept that has so many different nuances to it, and we only have one word for it. The Greeks had several words, 5 or 6 different words for love. In English we have one. For instance, the same word that I use for love, I could say, I love Star Wars. I love peanut butter. I love motorcycles. I love winning. And I love my wife. There she is. She's helping me with the broadcast today. The same word for all those things. How I feel about peanut butter and how I feel about my wife are 2 very different things. How I approach them and everything is totally different, but we use the same word. That's kind of messed up, right? So before we just jump into a whole month of talking about love, I wanted to kind of define our terms and define what we mean, really what we mean when we say love. And I think what Jesus meant when Jesus said love God and love your neighbor as yourself. Okay, so like I said, the Greeks had several words for love. One of them was eros, and that's where we get our word erotic. Eros is that romantic kind of love that you feel, that attraction that you feel for another person. And that is one kind of love. We use that kind of love, and that's definitely part of one of the ways that I love my wife, or a person might love their girlfriend or boyfriend or something. That's just one of the words. Another word is phileo, which is where we get the word Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. Phileo is a brotherly love. It's the kind of love it's a friendship type of love, sisterly love. It's the kind of love you have for your friends. It's the kind of love you have for maybe the staff here at Campus Life and each other. It's that really awesome kind of love that you have that is not erotic at all. It's platonic is another word for it. But you do love them. You do love these people like crazy, but it's a slightly different type of love. The third word for love that the Greeks used that I really want to key on tonight, because I believe this is the word that Jesus was using when he was proclaiming love God and love your neighbor, and that word was agape. And some of you guys have heard the word agape, and agape really means an unconditional type of love. That means that it's not earned. It's not based on an emotion or a feeling. It's more of like a decision to love someone even if they can't do anything for you, even if they didn't do anything to deserve it, even if, on the contrary, they did plenty of things to hurt you, you would love them anyway. That's a really special, amazing kind of love. And it almost kind of has to have help from God for us humans to have that kind of love. But that is definitely also the kind of love I have for my wife. It's also the kind of love that God has for us. While we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. And that's an agape love. And when he's saying love your Father in heaven and love your neighbor as yourself, that's the kind of love he's talking about. He's not talking about a feeling and goosebumps. Oh, I really have an affection for that person. No, it's a decision to put somebody on equal footing as yourself, or if not putting them above yourself, and to care for their needs like you care for your own. All right. And so before we jump into all the different talks on all the different people in our lives that we need to love well, let's just talk about what love is. And where I want to go with this now is there's a chapter in the Bible that's often quoted, and for good reason. It's often taught at weddings, and it's often talked about in churches, and it's quoted in movies and Hallmark cards, and because it's really a place in the Bible where God defines what he means by love for us in a way that's very vivid. All right, and it's found in a place called, a book in the Bible called 1 Corinthians, and in a chapter in that book called chapter 13. So 1 Corinthians chapter 13, probably the most famous passage in the Bible on what love actually looks like. And I think it'll blow your mind what real love is. And I decided, instead of me talking about that a lot tonight, I'm going to actually point us to a video online by the Bible Project where they kind of took this idea of agape love and they kind of unpacked that. And then we'll get into 1 Corinthians chapter 13. So this is a really cool video that I think explains agape love really, really well. Check it out.
If you've heard of Jesus, you probably know about one of his famous teachings called the Golden Rule. Do to others what you would want them to do to you. And this, actually, is a restatement of something else that Jesus said, that the meaning of life is to love God and love your neighbor as yourself. Now, that's really beautiful, but what does he mean exactly by the word love? It's an unclear word in English, because you can love your mom and you can love pizza. And if the word love means the same thing in both of those cases, your mom's gonna feel real bad. So what did Jesus mean in his language? Well, first of all, this love your neighbor phrase is a quotation from the Hebrew scriptures, where the word for love is ahava. However, the language Jesus spoke and taught in from day to day, it was a cousin language of Hebrew, that is Aramaic, in which the word for love is rachma. But then, as Jesus' followers spread his teachings around the world, they translated them into Greek, using the word agape. But here's what's fascinating. The earliest followers of Jesus, who wrote the books of the New Testament in Greek, they didn't learn the meaning of agape by looking it up in ancient dictionaries. Rather, they looked to the teachings of Jesus and the story of his life to redefine their very concept of love. So one time, Jesus was asked about the most important command in the Jewish scriptures. And he first quoted from the ancient prayer in the Torah called the Shema. Love the Lord your God with all of your heart. So love for God is the most important thing. But then Jesus quickly followed up by saying another command from the Torah was also the most important, to love your neighbor as yourself. So which is the most important, loving God or loving your neighbor? Jesus' answer is yes. To ask the question means you don't get his point. For Jesus, they are two sides of the same coin. Your love for God will be expressed by your love for people, and vice versa, they're inseparable. And so this makes it clear that for Jesus, agape love is not primarily a feeling for someone else that happens to you, like our phrase, I fell in love. For Jesus, love is action. It's a choice that you make to seek the well-being of people other than yourself. Jesus also went on to teach that genuine love for God and others means seeking people's well-being without expecting anything in return, especially from people who are in difficult situations, who can't repay you even if they wanted to. According to Jesus, this kind of generous love reflects the very heartbeat of God. And he took this even further. Jesus said that the ultimate standard of authentic love is how well you treat the person that you can't stand. Or in his words, you shall love your enemy and do good to them, expecting nothing in return. For Jesus, this kind of enemy-embracing love imitates the very character of God himself. Now, we wouldn't be talking about Jesus still today if he had only said things like love your enemy. This is how he actually lived. Jesus was constantly helping and serving the people around him in very practical and tangible ways. And he consistently moved towards poor and hurting people who couldn't benefit him in return. He showed love for the forgotten ones, the people who usually fall through the cracks. And when Jesus eventually marched into Jerusalem, he made himself an enemy of the leaders of his people by accusing them of hypocrisy and corruption. But then instead of attacking his enemies to overthrow them, he allowed them to kill him. Jesus died for the selfishness and corruption of his enemies because he loved them. After Easter morning, Jesus and then his followers claimed that it was the power of God's love for the world that was revealed in Jesus' life, death, and resurrection. As the Apostle Paul put it, God demonstrated his own agape for us in this: while we were still sinners, the Messiah died for us. Or in the words of the Apostle John, God's own agape was revealed when he sent his one and only Son into the world so that through him we could have life. And for John, then, this leads naturally to the conclusion, beloved ones, if that's how God has loved us, then we ought to show love for one another. So, Christian faith involves trusting that at the center of the universe is a being overflowing with love for his world, which means that the purpose of human existence is to receive this love that has come to us in Jesus and then to give it back out to others, creating an ecosystem of others-focused, self-giving love. And that's the New Testament meaning of agape love.
So God's kingdom is what he just said was an ecosystem of others-focused, self-giving love. So that is a cool picture, man. And that's kind of what we hope Campus Life is all about, and the church all over the world is about, is just a group of people who love each other really well. And so that brings us to the last thing I want to leave you with, guys, tonight is some scripture from 1 Corinthians chapter 13. You've maybe heard this before, but you can never hear this enough times. It will take you a lifetime to unpack all that this means. But when you, according to God, when you say, I love somebody, or I agape somebody, this is what you mean if you're truly doing it right, okay? So this is going to be starting in chapter 4 of 13 and going all the way through 4 through 7. Okay, it says, love is patient, love is kind, love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wronged. It does not rejoice about injustice, but love rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up. Love never loses faith. It is always hopeful. It always endures through every circumstance. So I know that that's been a challenge to me in my whole life, especially the love keeps no record of wrong things. That part, that's sometimes kind of hard. Patient, kind, not jealous or boastful or proud. That's what true love is. It's not a feeling that you get butterflies in your stomach about another person or thing. It's something that is a decision to treat people with love that was described right there. So I just want to pray that you guys can do that in your life, that as you look at other people and try to love them, that you'll love them with that kind of love, not depending on what they do or who they are or what they've done for you, but just because you've decided to love them because you love your Father in heaven, and he says go and love other people like you love yourself. So go ahead this week and try to love other people the best you can. We will see you guys next week at the tent, God willing. Adios.